Greetings, flesh creatures. It is I, Megatron. On behalf of TFYLP, I want to congratulate you for listening to the most refined collective podcast on this miserable little planet Earth. Yes. Here you'll find knowledgeable fans discussing every aspect of Transformers and beyond. Now, enjoy the show while I continue my path to complete conquest of all of you miserable biological entities. Predacons, terrorize!
Hello, welcome to TFYLP episode 428. We are live tonight, April 26th. I'm Lucas, and I am joined tonight by Rob.
Hi.
Christian.
What up?
Serge.
You're telling me I missed episode 420? I'm disappointed.
That was a while ago.
2 months ago, bro.
So,
We were kind of close to 420 on 420. Kinda.
I should have held out.
yeah, just skipped them all till then. So, and Peter.
Forever Destron.
And you are?
I already said my name at the very beginning so that you wouldn't give me
Did
crap,
you?
Christian. I said that I was Lucas.
I don't remember it anymore. Serge just
Well,
dragged it
he
me.
gave it to you anyways.
That was like over 5 seconds ago, man. You can't expect people to remember
Right.
stuff.
Trying to get the comments here.
I don't even
I'll
know what the
figure it out.
topic is.
So the
somebody tell
topic
us.
tonight is we are talking about Transformers displays. And so what brought this up is that Peter, I guess, is relocating and is in a different area, I suppose, as you can see with your backdrop tonight. And so he said, hey, guys, like, what should I do with my displays? And so all of us said, oh, this would be a fantastic topic. So it's kind of how it went.
Well, the
And-
obvious answer is you should put them in bins. The best display ever, right, guys? And that's like the end game.
A house is a bin.
There we go.
Right.
Perfect. You're done. End of the episode. Good job,
You did it.
guys. We really nailed it. Came in
Wow.
So
strong.
there you go. Well, and I apologize to everyone that we couldn't have Rick on tonight because I'm sure that he could. But I think that we've probably covered his displays for, you know, a fair
Or
amount.
another way to phrase that would be, you're welcome, everyone. We couldn't have Rick on tonight.
I'm sure he would loudly put up his display again while we're recording.
So yeah, I could imagine he's gonna like somehow join like halfway in and be like, guys, like, what are you talking about? So, Christian, since you can't see the comments, they are complimenting you on your haircut tonight.
See, I'm telling
thanks,
you,
guys.
the first thing I noticed, it just came in and flexed on all of us.
Yep.
It was
really
time.
fresh.
So yeah, it feels nice.
The rest of us looking like a bunch of cavemen.
Right?
Thanks, Internet. Show me the love.
He's single,
I am.
ready
Check it
to
out.
mingle.
That's true.
He's ready to
Okay.
transform your life.
Catherine wants to know what we're doing with our Unicron. Specifically, did Destron solve the Unicron depth behind the glass dilemma?
Destron is having 2 Unicrons shipped to a house where he doesn't live anymore, and Hasbro is just
Oh, that's right.
so.
Oh no!
What service do those come? FedEx?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
You
like,
might be
you
able to
should be
fix
able to
that one.
contact FedEx and get them to reroute it. That's
Once I
In
get
theory.
the ship notification, Hasbro said that it should ship on the 22nd or 23rd, and here we are. It's the 25th or 26th, and it's still not shipped. So I'm expecting them to just be chucked into the pond behind my old house. The
awesome.
FedEx
It's okay.
person.
You made friends with all the critters back there. They will get it out and bring it to you.
It'll be like Snow White, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey
The
guys!
armadillos and the
Uh-oh.
raccoon and the
Looks like
snake and-
Destron's Unicron got put into the lake.
Well, I
Let's
can
get
imagine.
Get some driftwood. We gotta drift it to shore before it soaks.
We have manatees in the lagoon by my house sometimes.
Really?
Yeah.
What? That's awesome.
That is so cool.
Love manatees.
The answer for what did I do for Unicron is I did that.
Dope.
So that used to be a standing desk that I used for work for a while, and then I used it for like reviews and I used the backdrop to take photos for eBay stuff. And all of a sudden I realized I don't really use this desk for anything important. I could put 3 half-height billies there. Yeah. And then I was like, man, I hope I can make Unicron fit on it. And the answer is I could barely by turning him sideways. At an angle. And honestly, like at an angle, it doesn't look bad. I mean, like if I could have had it coming straight off, I probably would have. But it also kind of, adds something to it to, it's not like he's turned completely sideways or backwards or anything. It kind of adds some depth and dimension to it. That picture is hilarious. If you haven't seen that, they've dismantled everything and he's like crunched in. He looks like somebody shoved a dead body in a closet.
Great. My Unicron is hanging out with me on my new work desk. That's not his permanent home. I'm waiting for some new furniture for my Detolf display, and I'll talk about that later, but he will eventually be the centerpiece over there.
And yeah, it's absolute garbage that Peter still doesn't have his Unicron. I mean,
it is.
That's insane to me.
I could just imagine like the new guy that lives where you're at, Peter. Like they're like, oh, you're getting a couple boxes? Yeah, I'll drive them over. Like, you can just deliver them here.
Do you have a vehicle that you could fit the boxes in?
Yeah. It's all squared away. I mean, it's a family-owned property, so we're fine. It's just I don't want them to sit out in the rain. I don't want the postal carrier likes to chuck them into the grass, or when it's raining, they like to just leave them in the street. My boxes, just put them on the street. It's fine. It won't rain on it or get run over. Whatever. My postal carrier is the worst, and is completely unapologetic. And we've complained about them, and just. Yeah.
I would be afraid to file a complaint about my postal worker, because I feel like it would just get worse. Right?
I'm a federal employee. I have no qualms about arguing with or complaining on other federal employees. They get the same crappy pension I do, and they can eat it.
Yeah, I guess I should be thankful that the postal carriers here by me are great, and I've never had an issue. So, but I live literally right down the street from a post office. So I'm like one of the first, they like drop my stuff off every day at like 10 o'clock, and it's
get that. Mr. Rich Man can afford a house by the post office.
My old house it's the last cross street before the end of the county, and my post office is 4 miles in the other direction. So I'm the last house on the left on the last street of their route. So by the time they get to me at the end of the day, they're like, "Fuck this guy."
You sure your house
is at your old house?
At my old house. My new house, we haven't had any issues yet. Packages have arrived.
What's funny is we've been in this house for 5 years, 6 years, something like that. I don't know. And like, there's been times where, for like a year or two, mail comes at like 4 or 5 p.m. And then other times for a year or two, it comes at like 11 or noon.
Yeah.
And like, it's, I assume they're just, reworking their deliveries, right? They figured out in the morning, probably most of it's automated. Here's your route for today or whatever. And at some point, employees come and go and it redoes the things, But I have a camera on my front door. I know when my post office person changes,
yeah.
So
I have a friend who works for FedEx in Ohio, in Dayton, and she said, yeah, it's pretty much like you just said. It's automated completely. So when people drop off or new people get added, it recalculates the routes for all the drivers, and then the line people load the trucks based on the new route calculations and have at it.
Off they go.
Mm-hmm.
So Rob, but I do love what you did, that you managed to make an efficient use of your space, because I don't know if you're like me, where my spouse said, hey, have at it. Here's your space. And then at some point I ran out of space, and I said, oh, can I have more space? And they said, no. You can keep it to that. So I don't know if you kind of had the same thing where you're like, I'm going to get creative here. And,
what you should have done is countered with, cool, I'm going to get a different spouse. You can have the kids. I'm going to get more display space. That's how this is going. No,
yeah, I'm not sure that would be the line in the sand that I would draw.
You might like his spouse, Rob. You never know.
More than the collection, though. I mean, Transformers is your true wife. Let's get this straight.
My collection has survived 2 lives so far.
No, I didn't run into that. My space is self-imposed and always has been, and that's like one of my desires. Like I don't want it outside of my collection room, and I never have. It's one of those, like she has mentioned before. She's like, if you wanted to have like a single nice display of like some choice figures in the living room, it might be something like a glass case that has like, a figure on a shelf, something to that nature. Like she's, stuff like that wouldn't bother her, but I don't want that.
Yeah,
I want them here.
I'm on the same boat. I've never liked the idea of the collection going beyond I mean, I've seen pictures online of like people's like all their house is just full of like card backs on the walls. And like the kitchen, the bathrooms, even it's like I don't need Captain America looking at me while I'm taking a leak, or like
that's America's wiener.
Like inviting somebody over, for dinner, and it's like, let me bust out the fine china right next to my masterpiece collection, and grab grandma's cabinet.
Yeah, I mean, I like to keep it here, and also humans. And this is related to displaying. Most humans, however much space we get, we're going to fill it, and it doesn't matter. Like, if you've ever thought, man, I don't have enough room in my pockets for stuff, or I don't have enough room in my wallet to hold all my cards. So you get a bigger wallet, or you get bigger cargo pants or something. Mm-hmm. You quickly find you just accumulate more garbage that you don't actually need. I mean, and I have a big space. Like, this, this is like a third that you can see on camera here, maybe a fourth of the size of my display room here, which is also my office, whatever, basement. But the more space you have, just the more you're going to fill up. And so by putting that constriction on that, you can kind of work with it. Else you'll just endlessly grow, and it'll take over everything, and it'll look like crap, and everyone will think it looks like crap, and you'll know it looks like crap, but you don't want to admit it looks like crap. So it's I don't know. I find having that to be helpful. And if you're doing the thing where you're nailing cards, like carded figures to your wall, stop. It looks like crap.
It never looks good.
It never looks good.
Yeah.
You got your was it circa 2000? Yes, 2001 Power of the Force, Star Wars stuff.
like people even put up like empty boxes too. I feel like that's even worse. I always see people posting in the groups like, "Hey, what do you guys do with your boxes? Like, throw them out?
Recycle them."
Yeah. I used to keep everything. I mean, this is when I was like, much younger, and I was buying things like as I could. So each purchase was a lot special. Than now I'm like buying much more.
There are exceptions to that. I think like vintage boxes and what vintage means to you changes.
Oh yeah,
sure.
Like, I could imagine like if I had just G1 and that's all I had, I could totally see a display where I spread it out even more than I do, where like you put the empty box behind it because I'm going to open my stuff, but then you put the figures in front of it.
Sure.
To display them together, but have them out.
But you would never just display that empty box on a wall in the middle of a wall by itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-mm. That's stupid.
You would never do that. So don't do that.
Now, would you take like, say, a Toys R Us display with hooks and then line
the Rick question?
line it with that? Because I mean, I actually think that looks pretty neat to kind of set up a store display. Like I've seen actually some people where they've literally set up like, here's a picture of like the 1985 Toys R Us, and like I'm recreating it in my like downstairs or whatever, which I think
I mean, that's a thematic overall thing you're doing. Like that's what Rick is doing, and Rick also has ridiculous amounts of stuff, like beyond ridiculous amounts of stuff. He has everything carded.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't really have a lot of options if he doesn't want to just store it in totes shoved away, right?
I think
those are exceptions.
If you really take it to like the next level, like there's a couple people like people who collect like VHSs, Blu-rays and all that. I've seen some really cool display rooms where they model it after like a Blockbuster or like a family-owned rental video, and those places are really cool because they get like signage. They even have like an old computer for like the lookup system. So if something like that is like really cool, but I personally wouldn't be able to do one of those store displays, because I feel like I'd get bored of like what's facing, and then there's like 5 figures deep, and it just sounds like a whole mess to keep switching things out, you know.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big things with displays is your display has to fit what your collection is, and you need to decide what your collection is as well. And that's one where, for example, Rick, with what he has and with what he's doing, I think stuff like the pegboards for his gajillion carded figures that hang, I think that makes sense. But for, I have 20 figures. I'm going to nail them on my wall for some reason. Like, no, that doesn't look good. No one thinks that looks good. Yeah, it's not wallpaper. And I disagree with Ron. I think wood paneling looks better than having figures nailed into wood paneling.
Oh, boy.
I'm gonna disagree.
Yeah. And those displays are always like, it's never like uniform. It's like I got a Generations Armada figure. There's like a 90 Spawn mixed in there too.
I did that. I did it when I first got to my own place, and I was just like, "Yay! I can put up all these carded figures that I kept." No, it looked horrible. I had it behind a door.
I think we've all done it at one point.
No,
don't do it. Do not do it. Please don't do it. I beg.
I do love Catherine's comment. She says, "Don't make your display look too much like a store. No woman has ever said, 'I love going to my boyfriend's because his place looks like Walmart.'"
I had a similar thought.
Very
actually.
true.
I've done retail stocking as like a job before. I don't want to do that for my hobby in my own house.
Right.
Like,
I worry myself, aside from the cards on the wall looking bad, with Rick's display in particular, I like the way it looks. I like that it looks like, a snapshot of an error or whatever. But for me, I would worry that the tabs on the cards would get damaged from moving them on and off the pegs. And they do. And then eventually you'll have that one day where the one figure, the card peg tag goes whoop, and it knocks the figure down, which knocks the next figure down. And it's like an avalanche. We've all done it at the store where you're like going down the pegs, like, and you hit that one figure and you knock 16 things over. I don't want that to happen in my collection. That's like dread. I managed to move everything here with one piece breaking that we know of so far. And you know which one it is, Rob. Yeah. And so it's nothing vintage, nothing that like, we didn't drop any totes, we didn't crush any boxes, we didn't hurt any cards. I would be mortified if something fell off a peg and knocked butterfly peg tags or whatever off of all my card stuff.
It should be noted that it doesn't matter whether it's carded or loose or anything. Falling like dominoes is something that's hard to prevent with any collection to some degree. Like, Transformers are a lot better than like fucking Marvel Legends. Or like my NECA Ninja Turtle stuff. They are constantly falling over, even though like Shredder doesn't stand for crap. And like right now, I think Casey fell into Vernon. And so they're just having a little nap together right now, because I'm just like, man, fuck those figures. I don't want to pick them up again,
Yeah, I think if you're gonna do box displays, it's like you said, incorporate it into the overall display.
Make it be part
of it. Christian has seen what I've done with my carded 40th anniversary Star Wars figures.
Oh yeah.
So each of my shelves is themed after, like, this is all episode 4 stuff, all episode 5 stuff. So for the ones that they've done the retro card for, the ones that I kept on the card, I put on the back of the display, and then the figures in front of it. And it looks pretty neat, because I have I also bought these protectors, like these plastic cases to put the cards in, and that helps them like to stand them up, because it's
makes
like
a box.
It's like a rectangle. And then that way I don't have to worry about them, flopping over, or how do I hang them onto the shelf, and that creates a whole other issue. And I've seen a ton of like the G1 guys do that, where they'll put either the empty box or just the boxed figure on shelves on the wall, and that looks amazing.
Yeah.
Or back to your Surge, the G1 guys, I've seen people put the boxes up on like a riser behind the figure in a Detolf cube or whatever, and put the figure in front of it, so like the box is there as the background, and that looks nice. It's just making it look presentable.
Yeah, and it does depend on the figure and even the card design, because I feel like putting a modern carded figure up on the display, and if it's like an empty bubble, it's not going to look as good as, like a boxed vintage. There's just something about vintage style boxes that catch the eye.
I mean, it's weird what, again, the term vintage changes. I don't think there's a year definition on vintage, like, 15 years old.
Well, I go by the legal definition. The legal definition is if a car is 20 years or older, it's vintage.
Okay. Well,
so that's the legal definition.
Because I was going to say, like, I start to feel like some Beast Wars packaging now feels vintage to me. Beast Machines doesn't. Beast Machines, that still is boring to me, but, like, the Bubble Beast Wars backs and stuff, like, those are, like, have a different appeal to me these days, which is funny because I didn't collect Beast Wars at the time it came out. I wasn't collecting Transformers then. I was in high school.
It was too cool.
No, not at all.
I definitely think that the box stuff, I mean, and that's why I kind of appreciate Hasbro going back to that box design, is that I think that you can make a better display with that, either on shelves or hanging up or whatever. But I kind of do the same thing with my displays. Like, I don't have a huge box collection, but, like, I just kind of line the back of the displays with those boxes, and I don't think it looks too bad.
I grabbed one for the video viewers. I hope it comes up.
Oh, yeah,
it's not because
your background keeps intruding on it.
Hold on. Let me see if I can edit that.
Repair.
I mean, it's funny because your microphone is also edited out, so there's just like this big circle going into your face. It's like
there we go. Let me just, now you can see my dirty basement. It's still a little, my screen is too dark. Oh well.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, that's one of those UV protective cases, right? Type things.
I don't know if they're UV protector. They're called they're made by a company called Retro Protection, and they do like a ton of stuff. They actually specialize in video game protective cases for like vintage video games, but they do a lot of Star Wars stuff. No Transformers stuff yet, although I am going to email the guy and see if there'd be enough interest.
Ask him to start with Energon, just because.
Yeah, because he does these based off of interest, so like the 40th anniversary packs, there's a ton of people leave that carded, so that's something he'll make. But like more obscure stuff, either he'll custom make it for you, or if he has enough interest, he'll make a small run of it. But like a pack of that cost me like $16 for like a pack of 4 or 5, so they're pretty inexpensive if you're getting them in bulk, and the more you buy, the cheaper that they are.
I was going to say, I figure ultimately, it's just a cube. What dimensions do you need? All right, that, and, make them, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that the key with displays is try to somewhat plan it out and, have a purpose with it. Because I know that a lot of us, like, we have a tendency to build our collections and not think about the displays. And I mean, not that my displays are anything great, but like, I think that a lot of times,
case in point.
Yeah, if you're just putting it all in bins and
on that point, I think the biggest sin that you could commit in displays is you've got $5,000 worth of figures on $20 Walmart shelves.
Invest in your display.
And I always hear people always saying like, well, I can't afford these shelves. Like, these shelves are too expensive. And it's like, well, if you can spend $200-300 on a big third-party masterpiece figure or $200 worth of mainline figures, you can drive yourself to, if you're near an IKEA or even like Walmart and Target, they have quality displays, but people always go for like the cheapest of the cheap because they're trying to get like 10 of these displays all at once.
And they get that colored bookcase that's, kind of saggy, droopy.
Or like those plastic shelving. I think someone shared it in a Transformer group a couple weeks ago.
I know someone who used to use those.
I wish that I would have grabbed the picture for this show, but there's some person that had thousands of dollars of Transformers, like masterpiece third party, where it was all like collapsed because they had used some like cheap plastic, shelf or whatever.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that. Not the crashing part, but like I had the $20 garage shelves, where it's you put down the thing, peg, 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 shelf, peg, 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 and it's one of those. As everyone and their mother knows, I'm a big budget person, and it's one of those. I need to put these on something I want to spend as little as possible on this because, again, I'm at a fixed budget on my collection. I want to get more toy, and I want to enjoy the toy. And at the time, displaying wasn't part of the hobby for me. And and it's one of those. We probably should have prefaced this this is an opinionated episode. And so we are cracking jokes, right? Like, we're entertaining each other and maybe some other people finding entertaining too. Don't actually give a fuck what you do with your toys. I don't care. I don't care if you throw them in your shoebox. I don't care if you put them in your cat's litter box and that's where you get them out to play with them. I think it's gross and you're gross and don't talk to me.
Tell us before you sell it.
I don't want to shake your hand.
We talked about that last week.
So I feel like the big thing, honestly, I feel like that you could probably make those Walmart shelves that you were talking about look better than like other people that have high-end shelves, just depending on how you do it. So if you have good lighting that you buy for it, and you have like shelves where you're spacing everything out so that you don't have so many things on it that it's like bowing the shelf and whatnot, I think that it would be fine.
No, it wasn't. and then they were crowded.
People
they were crowded as all get out because
and you can make do.
Yeah.
Like I'm coming for blood here because I see both of your displays in the background. Another thing that is also key to a good display is how you pose them. Because it looks like some shelves, Lucas, are better posed than others. I can probably tell that the ones that aren't as better posed, you probably mess with them more often, or you just put those up. But often I see.
Oh, we're losing.
Serge, apparently he's cutting out here.
Oh, I cut off a bit.
Yeah, you said because sometimes I see.
And then that was that.
Oh, so I made a joke on the Cybertron Cafe a couple of weeks ago where it seems that people who complain about lack of articulation always do the G1 pose on their shelves. Yeah. And I see that very often where you've got an army of figures like all squished next to each other and like arms straight, legs, and it's just like it just doesn't look good. There's no flow, or even if you space them out a little bit, put their guns up or something, a little, put the, like, if they come with an extra face, put the expression on, just something different to spice it up. It makes a world of a difference.
My problem is that I feel like my displays are always in a state of flux, and I also like haven't not taken the time to do it just because you got a lot of things going on and whatever. And so I feel like it's like almost one of those, like, it's a whole day project, to kind of get everything like the way that you want it, to tear everything down and put everything up and all that kind of thing. So I like did that, like, I don't know, like a year or so ago, and I haven't done it since. So like, I know that I'm, guilty of that myself.
And let's be clear, like, posing your figures is a skill. I don't have that skill.
Yeah.
Like I do some of what you mentioned, just like when I get alternate faces and heads, especially with different expressions, like I'll usually pick something that's more interesting than just normal face because I think it's more interesting. And I'll usually put their guns and try to put them in some sort of pose unless, it fits the character to stand there, because some of them it does.
Yeah.
But, my G1 shelves, they all are just lined up like that because most of them don't articulate much beyond that. And it would look weird if, you got like Galvatron, who's one of the most articulated figures in G1, surprisingly. He's actually super articulate. If I had him in some dynamic pose and everybody else is just sitting here like that,
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody is like, why isn't your G1 Optimus posed? I think it's more, if you get this like hyper articulated third party and it's just like, give it some life. And I think some advice I could also give you, usually what I do is I'll Google like the source images. So like, if it's like an NPM,
the promotional shots.
Yeah, I look up like promo shots of the figure. I'll look up screenshots from the movie, screenshots from the cartoon or whatever. I know for like my non-Transformer stuff, it's a lot easier because you can find those guys pose in so many different ways. I struggle the most with Transformers. I think Transformers are the hardest ones I can, because like most of them, like they'll come with like a gun, and it's like there's only so many ways you can pose a figure with a gun. At least in my opinion, before they start to get really repetitive. But I try.
You can hold it like this. You can hold it shooting at somebody. I'm out.
Just talk to Anna. She can give you some tips on posing your figures. So.
Yes, Anna's the best at posing.
Isn't she just going to tell you to like dismantle all of them and rip them into parts and make a battle scene out of it? Because she likes, she complains about the violence in Transformer comics, but all she does with hers is make grotesque mutilations of them. So I don't know, I'm calling some hypocrisy out on Anna here. So we'll have to chat about that.
But one of the things, like with my displays, so I got Billy's just like Rob did.
And Billy's aren't expensive for what it's worth. Like they fluctuate in price from like $60 to $80 a bookshelf. You know, like they aren't that expensive if you have an IKEA nearby, because delivery on IKEA is really expensive. But otherwise, they're not that expensive.
If you're lucky to live by an IKEA or like within driving distance, like that's pretty nice. But like the reason I got Billy's was because I figured that they're gonna make Billy's forever, or at least I hope so. And a lot, like if I need an extra shelf, if I want to switch out for glass shelves, if I want to put glass fronts up like how Rob has, like, and I think you have glass shelves as well. So it's like there's a lot you can do with those, and so that's the thing that I liked about those. Like the trouble, like I know a lot of people have is like, say you buy like one shelf or whatnot, right? And then like whatever, 6 months later you buy another shelf, you buy another one, whatever, right? But you end up like buying them from different places, and or like even if it's Walmart or whatever, and it's a different style now than like what it was, 6 months ago, and it's a different height, and so like everything is just like that just bugs the heck out of me. Like I was like, I had to,
yeah, like unless you can buy everything at once, and usually most collectors can't, because that's, if you're trying to buy some nice shelves, it can be kind of, it's a notable chunk, and that's why the things you listed are one of the reasons I went this way. And I've talked about it before, is that Billy's aren't going anywhere anytime soon, at least, right? So I can, hey cat, I knew that I could continue to buy them as time went on. I knew that there were, for some of the odder spots, like I have some spots where I don't have room for a full width, so you can get the half width. And they also have some that have the corners that are kind of, the attachments to help secure it in the corners. And like over here on my right with the half ones, those aren't full height because I don't have a way to affix the top. And if you put up bookshelves, for the love of God, affix the tops to studs in your wall. You are asking for trouble if you put up a bookshelf and you don't affix it at the top to the wall. It is not worth the risk. Find a way to. Anyways, I didn't have a way to fix the top on that, so I had to go the half heights, and I can fix them to some studs in the behind it. But like there's a lot of options with any IKEA system you go with. I'm not saying they're the end all be all by any means, but like if you get, some people get like glass displays from closing toy stores or whatever, and those look awesome. But if you want a consistent look, you're not going to get it that way. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's for what you're doing. Maybe that's fine. Maybe that's like the centerpiece and it's a one-off, and that's fine. And what's around it is uniform. Like that can look fine too.
Like Lucas said earlier, with actually putting figures in a display, it's also important to plan out your display furniture and your display area. Rob got a bunch of his pieces at once. You don't necessarily have to if you plan it out ahead, especially if you're doing an IKEA system.
I planned out big time.
Yeah, you did.
Let's be clear. Like I measured, I knew how much they were. I was like, okay, I can fit 3 and then a corner and another one over here for this wall. On this wall, I can do this, and like I planned out a lot, and then I did buy in stages.
Exactly. You didn't buy your entire room at once, because that's, thousands of bucks of furniture all at once. Also, where are you going to assemble all of you, have all of it together? Basically, make a plan.
What kind of weirdo would do something like that?
What weirdo? Me?
No, it was me. Like that's actually what I did. Like I literally, because my wife was like, "You can have this room for your display." So I'm like, "All right, my birthday's coming up, so instead of getting figures, I spent it all on Billy's, and I measured it out and whatever." And nice. So that's what
But
I don't know. It's hard to say on mine because but I kind of have the same thing where it's like
Mr. Big Bucks,
goes, like all around.
Yeah. Billy's and several of the other IKEA sets is, and again, we've talked about this, and Lucas was saying earlier, is that it can grow with your budget. So like behind me are the done ones, right? But like over here, a lot of these over here don't have glass yet. like, on the other side, because, and I actually have a pile of glass shelves because I got in some more with that I need to put up, right? But you can add the glass shelves in as you get money, and then you can add the doors in as you get money. And again, that works really well with the budget. If what you're buying in toys is down a bit, you can get some stuff for displays. And I don't have an IKEA nearby, just for what it's worth. Like, ours is 3 hours away. And so I just wait till I have enough to make it worthwhile to do a delivery.
Yeah.
But like, I haven't had anything in like 2 years. I've been really slacking, to be honest.
It's worth the hike if you're gonna go grab, a couple.
A bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Because even if it's like in your case 3 hours away, what you're spending in time and gas is way cheaper than the shipping that they charge.
Delivery is usually around $80-$90. It's actually, I think it went up a little bit. I think it used to be like 70 or something like that, but it's gotten up there. So for me, it was worth it not to lose a whole day of the weekend for it, and plus the gas. I was like, I'll pay it. I had it. I had it in my Transformer budget.
Going to IKEA on the weekend is just a nightmare. Because all the people like Rob driving 3 hours to get there.
No,
I don't
we
have something to carry it in anyways.
We got two in the area. So everybody always goes to the other one. I go to the lesser.
Do your IKEA shoppers tend to park all sideways in the loading zone and park all wonky and hit the rails and string everywhere and leaving carts everywhere? It's just a disaster, or is that just Tampa?
They leave meatballs on the floor.
So your display stuff can conform to your budget, like Rob said. But if you're like me and you continue moving apartments throughout the first couple years of your life, it can also adjust to your space. Like I bought my 9th Detolf a couple weeks ago. I haven't assembled it yet because I'm waiting on other furniture, like I mentioned. But I didn't start out with 8. I started out with 1, and then I had 3, and then I had 6, and then I had 8. I think something like that. It changes based on where you are. Make sure that your furniture that you're getting really fits where you're putting it. For example, if you have an octagonal room, putting 2 in each of the 4 facing corners might be a great plan for you. I did that. Also, there's a ton of sun and it damaged a bunch of my figures, so that was bad.
Yeah, that's another thing. Make sure you get really heavy curtains, blackout curtains if possible.
They looked nice though, and I had I guess I could send a picture of what the outside of that apartment looked like. It was crazy. It looked like a lighthouse at night with all my LEDs and just blasting out all the windows, and it was crazy.
Causing car accidents.
What the heck is that guy doing? Hydroponics lab, something? I don't know.
If I was at that point in my life where I was actively moving, like lots of people, when you live in apartments, not everybody, some people get an apartment, live there 10 years, but lots of times you're kind of moving apartments every year or two. You'd be hard pressed to talk me out of just garage shelves, to be honest, because you can compress them down and take them apart really easy, right?
Look, man,
like they're your portable
king.
with you.
How do you?
I think Detolfs are fucking terrible for Transformer collections, but we'll get there.
We'll get there because Serge and I've been working on that for the past several months. That's why he and I are both here.
So okay. Question for you guys though: moving 8 Detolfs, how do you do that?
You broke up, Peter. Peter and Lucas both asked a question at the same time.
Oh no.
Mr. Destron, what was your question?
Oh, I was going to say, before we move on to Detolfs and the pros and cons, mostly cons of them,
Rude.
I'd like to give a shout out to the Besta system, also from IKEA. The Besta system is not as tight as the Billy system, has different style doors, but you have your glass shelves. It's modular, just like the Billy is. You can mount it to the wall. You can have it as a base. You can do all the things that the Billy does with a slightly different style. And I have 7 in here so far, plus my whole living room with all my, because I do video game consoles too. So I've got all the consoles.
Oh, you need to send us some pictures of that, FYI.
Once it's all set up again, then we will, yeah. But yeah, all the consoles are all in Bestas. It's modular. Her record collection is in Bestas. Her CDs are in Bestas. We love the Besta system, and like we were saying, just to piggyback, when you're ready to go from the shelves that come with it to the glass shelves, you go from the wood to the glass, fake wood or whatever. If you want to upgrade the legs, it's time to upgrade the legs. Just do it in chunks. Do it in,
Right.
if you want to go from the solid doors to the see-through doors or the whatever doors or drawers, they've got drawers you can swap out. Then do it. Do it as your budget allows. Do it as your space allows. Just to echo everything that everybody said. It's all good stuff.
Yeah, it's one of those. I'm less pushing the Billy system as more as IKEA has a lot of systems that work out really well, and they're IKEA's not going anywhere tomorrow, and the vast majority of their lines aren't going anywhere tomorrow. Right?
Exactly. The Billy and the Besta have been there forever.
Yeah.
There was that brief time when Detolf stopped being made, but they brought it back.
Yeah, I have Bestas upstairs, and like that's what I have for my statue collection. Like I've got, I don't know, 6 statues, something like that.
Mr.
And
Flex.
it looks really nice behind glass. They're not okay. Thanks. This is what I decided to do instead of Masterpiece, Serge. I got those statues, so they look. They
You
look
talk
nice.
about how expensive Masterpiece is, and then you go out and you buy your whole display in one sitting. Now you're flexing your statues in your expensive space. What sense does this make? Well, Masterpiece was too expensive.
I decided to go
asked about-
up. I didn't say it
about
was
how
too
I
expensive.
moved.
I said that I didn't think the value was there. Is what I was saying. But yeah, the Besta system is really good as well. Like I would agree, Peter. So like the Billies aren't quite as wide as the Bestas. I think it's like 2/3. I can't remember what the measurement is exactly, something like that. So it really depends on like the scene that you want to create. I don't know. I personally like the shelving that that's lighter, just because it naturally kind of brings out the figure. Like if you get dark shelves, like you just want to make sure and get good lighting to exit them and whatnot.
Like when I did this, I debated with myself a lot. Do I want black or white shelves? And then I think brown is another option. There might be
It's like a
couple of
light
colors.
brown, I think.
Yeah, and I was like, no, on that altogether. And ultimately, I was like, you know what? I'm going to be in this room all the time. I want some software developers are like the cave dudes. They want to be in the dark all the time, blah blah blah. I'm not that person. I was like, I want something more brightly lit or whatever, and I went with white, and I'm really happy I did. Other people may feel differently. Some people love the black shelves, but like there's already enough shadows with my white shelves as is, right? Because lighting is a topic I guess we'll get to, but it is very difficult. I think it's challenging to do well.
I always to be the centerpiece of my display, not my shelving, but the shelving is important. So it's important to make the shelving look good without drawing attention to it, if that makes sense.
It's like children. Like you need them there to let them know that you got kids and everything, but they should shut up. What are you doing? Don't draw attention to yourself.
But
another.
It's funny. I actually, when my kids were younger, I actually got glass for my shelves just to keep them out of the Masterpiece displays. Like I went and had to get the child blocks or whatever to put on the shelves. So I mean, normally like the lower cost stuff, it's like you don't care about, but it's like you don't really want them handling that $200 figure.
One thing I think that's really great for displays that I'm trying to incorporate more and more, and I've used them some throughout, and Christian briefly mentioned it earlier, but is risers. And I think risers are drastically underused. They really make a display pop. I've used it some on my G1, and Billies aren't super deep to begin with, to be honest. But even then, you can fit 2 rows of toys in there and it not look like junk. But unless you just have big guys to put on the back, yes, just like Peter's holding up there.
Yep. Clear acrylic plastic risers.
Yeah,
various sizes.
And
this
various heights.
Container Store has like rectangles and squares. They've got little stacky guys if you like stacking things. They've got boxes so you can put things inside the box and put stuff on top of the box. Whatever you want. Go to the Container Store.
Stuff that I've found is useful is like makeup organizers. That those you flip them upside down and they're platforms. Spice racks kind of can do it too.
Yep.
I have a couple spice racks on one of my Ninja Turtle ones because they're white and my Billy is white, and so they fit in. It looks fine.
It's a good chance to be creative. I mean, you don't have to do something fancy. There's a lot of people that will make custom risers for Detolfs. I bought a couple of those, and Serge bought one earlier this year, just because a guy was advertising in one of the groups, and he made custom Detolf exactly sized ones, and he and I both use Detolf, so we bought some, and they're okay. But the spice racks, the organizers, the Container Store, acrylic cubes, whatever.
Like, I will tell you, if you go to Container Store, like, they are not cheap. They add up quickly.
They do.
Go to eBay and buy them from China.
Right.
I'm not like, I've had some that came broken, and guess what? I got all my money back every time.
But you got to check out, because like the ones from the Container Store that I have, they're
probably nicer. They're probably thicker plastic and higher quality.
Thicker plastic, and they don't bow. They're really nice and square and sturdy.
And
one of the Chinese ones here, and if you put a heavier figure on it,
it will bow.
It'll go like, and then you're like, oh, okay. And then you have that
Container Store. You can get they're called like 1x1 AMAC acrylic boxes. Those are Energon cubes, man. I got them.
Yeah, Christian and I were kind of like on a small crusade looking for like good, affordable risers. You know, because we were looking for risers in bulk, and obviously, Container Store is a good option. But like Rob said, they can add up really quick. There was 2 relatively inexpensive options that I found. One of them was, I believe it was Topps or Beckett, one of like the card companies. They make small acrylic cases they do like pop sized ones. They also do ones for like Beanie Baby size and other like small collectibles. Those work great. I get them on Amazon for like $5 to $8 a piece, depending on the size. And another one that unfortunately, I think they've discontinued them, and I recently discovered them. I wish I'd discovered them earlier. Dollar Tree sold these like clear acrylic organizers. They were kind of like, I guess you could put in like coins and like rubber bands.
About those. Yeah, you went and got a bunch. I went and got a bunch.
Yeah, I got a bunch of them, and like, you know, if you take once you take the packaging off of them and like the top sticker that's on it, like they're really clear for like the price that you pay, and they're pretty sturdy. I mean, I have my Fans Toys Motormaster on one, and he's a heavy, chunky fella, and the plastic isn't bending because of the way that they're made. There's like 3 compartments, so there's like support throughout the whole thing, and like $1 each. Yeah, every time I went to stop by a Dollar Tree, I cleaned them out, and I have not seen them restock since.
Why are you telling us this now? Just to break our heart? I mean, I live with enough like agony and angst and regret and pain, and all you're doing is just layering it on, Serge. So. Well,
I told Christian, and he also he swung and missed on a couple, didn't you? Like you had
I dropped in a couple times, and finally one Dollar Tree near me had 3, and I picked up the 3, and that was it.
I mean, first Peter had the issue with his bins, and now you're going to tell him about these.
Oh, we still have issues with.
So. Before we move on from risers, I mean, why are risers important? And to me, it's because they break up the linear verticality that you can sometimes get in displays. Basically, it means that you can have 2 rows of figures, but one is higher, and that utilizes vertical space in shelving a lot better. That's a critical error that a lot of us make.
Right,
not utilizing
like
vertical
how
space.
I should have risers behind me, but
you should have risers. I should have risers. I'm working on it.
I like to display my figures. I keep saying it's class photos, but it's class photos. I want my 84 guys hanging out with the 84 guys. I want my 86 guys hanging out with my 86 guys. And if you have them all in a class photo and everyone's the same height except for like Skylinks and Magnus in your 86 photo, then you can't see Springer or RC or whoever. Yeah. You want to have the. You lose them. You don't want that. If I spent, for my masterpiece shelf, if I spent $150 on Apache or whoever, I want to see him. I don't want him hiding behind whoever. So rise them up. Make that class photo. That's why they have risers when you go take your class photos, because they see you.
Unless you were me and they just stood you in the back and it was fine.
Yeah, but you're in.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's usually what I did. What I do with my risers is I like to put the bigger guys on top, so that way if you put the smaller guys in front, you can see their full body. Whereas if you did opposite, like the taller guy in front is going to block like half of the smaller dude. You just can see the top of their head.
A single riser gives you both things that really make a display pop, which is, better visibility and a more dynamic nature. especially for G1 things that you're not going to pose, right? Because they don't pose. You don't have a choice.
I think the other thing about the risers is that like you don't have to get all like really tall risers. Like they make various sizes.
No.
So like even if it's like a riser that's like an inch or two, like that still can make a difference.
It can make a lot of difference.
An inch or two makes a big difference. Like doubles this, right?
Right.
Like the multi-packs that Rob was saying you buy in China or buy from China, they come in like 3 or 4 different sizes per pack. So when you buy one pack, you're going to get 3 or 4 different
and
things.
They also make some packs that have like 6 that are nested.
They nest,
so you can get like 2 or 3 of those, and you got a bunch of options at that point, depending on what you're doing. But going back to something that, we talked about really earlier and Christian pointed out, like planning helps a lot. So deciding, when I redid my shelves, I put up the bookshelves. I knew where they were going to be, and I started displaying my G1 figures first. And so I put it up, and I was like, this is enough for this shelf. I'm going to move on to the next one now. And then once I had them laid out to where they weren't too cluttered, then it's like, okay, what can use risers? These dudes in the back. And so then I knew what I wanted to buy on top of that. And, depending on what shelf you're working on, you may be able to plan out more ahead of time. Me, I needed to get it on the shelf to really see it, to get an idea.
Yeah, I'm trying to
stick
to a theme. If you try to stick to a theme too, that helps you plan out. So like when I was buying risers, I was like, okay, which shelf is going to utilize them? So like my Masterpiece Autobot cars, I have all the cars on risers, and then the big leader bots are on their own space because they don't really need risers. They're big enough to, fill up the space on their own. And then just depending on like what you collect and what you have, like a lot of my MPM stuff, what I did was for a time before the collection got out of hand, I would like put the MPM in robot mode and then like the leader class or, like maybe the third party KO or something in vehicle mode. And then I would have like one shelf doing that and like the vehicle mode would be on the riser. So yeah, just planning it out ahead. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun.
Well, because like Zaldron said too, I mean, you can always rotate out your displays. It's not like it's going to be static.
No one does that
forever, but
people talk about that. We've talked about it. Okay, all right. Prove me wrong. I feel like that's something people talk about a lot, but no one wants to do it.
Serge and I do it for a different reason than the three of you, and I guess we could talk about that now if you want. Serge and I live in very small places. I mean, he lives in the place where he has his collection is very small. I live in an apartment. He lives at his parents' house. So it's different than having a permanent display space where you can like put it all up forever and just leave it. Like
Tonight
Rob,
is a weird flex night.
So Rob, you and I had a conversation over the holidays about displaying, among other things. And what you have there in your room is my goals, my end goal. But I don't live in a place where I can do that right now, so I'm the Detolf King. I'm maximizing what I can with what I have. That's how it works. So when you have as many figures as Serge or I have, and you have such limited space as Serge or I have, you have to learn to rotate in order to actually see stuff.
Yeah, because I do it for 2 reasons on top of that reason as well. And that's like one, now that I'm working from home, I stare at this all day, every day. And like, it does get a little boring seeing the same faces every single day. So every now and then I'll spice it up. Like I'll rotate out, so maybe I'll put away some Star Wars figures and fill that up with another line or some more Transformers that I haven't displayed in a while. The other reason is because I don't like having cluttered displays. I like having the more spaced out displays. Just once the collection gets too big, I got to sacrifice some to the bin.
Yep.
Well, and you've also done purges throughout your, relatively young collecting career compared to some of us. Props to you on that for learning that at such a young age, right? It's something that a lot of collectors really struggle with is if you don't have the space or the ability to enjoy what you have, then why do you have it? And for some people displays aren't part of the hobby, like their bookshelf is just a way for them to access it, and so whatever, again, I'm not really judging, I don't really care. But when you see it every day, and especially for someone who doesn't interact with everything you have all the time, which I don't, having it look nice, it sparks joy. I love that I get to work in my toy room every day, right? And I got toys around me, and if I'm on lunch break or I'm just taking 5 minutes away from work, and chatting on Facebook about toys for a minute or something, right? And somebody brings something up, I can go grab it. I can go look at it. So, it's accessible. And if I want to fiddle with it, I can, which I do, but it's nice. I can look and see what I have very easily. And there were times I couldn't, so it is both a form and a function. And you got to make sure it fits what you need out of both of those.
Well, I think the other thing, if you rotate your displays more often, they don't tend to get as dusty, or you can dust them as you're rotating things out. Mm-hmm. I don't know if everyone does it. But
Totes. Yeah, totally dust all the time.
But yeah, I mean, that's the other thing too, is I know they were saying in the chat earlier that black shelves or whatever, that you can see the dust a lot easier on black shelves compared to
the tops of my desktops are black, and yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I hate to tell you can see it on white shelves as well. The dust in front of my Grandis is extremely thick right now. It's it's bad. I need to get to the glass on those.
Do you guys want to talk about desktops? I know that people like to rag on them, but two of us are.
I had a question first for you, Christian, that I'd asked earlier. Is you said that you've moved apartments with desktops, right? How in the world do you move 8 desktops from an apartment? That sounds crazy.
Look behind Peter. That's how you do it.
You wrap it with saran wrap.
Just wrap it.
Yeah, so you take all the shelves out. I put soft things like all my clothes in there. Then you tape the door shut, wrap it in like a comforter or a blanket, and then plastic wrap it. And you just move it whole. And that has never failed me.
So clothes are really just a way to help move your desktops?
Otherwise, we'll all be naked.
Yes, correct. And, it doesn't necessarily help, but it does help me move things. Putting clothes inside is not a huge deal, or pillows inside or whatever, because unless you're really putting something to brace the interior force of it, it doesn't help it. But it does help, me not have to have a bunch of suitcases or a bunch of things full of clothes. They're soft, they'll fit in there.
They're not super heavy, which is important.
I followed the same method you did, because I bought some of mine secondhand.
Yeah.
And they're, from what I've heard, they're really annoying to disassemble and reassemble. Once you assemble them, they're kind of a pain to put them back together, is what I've heard.
I didn't want to go through that.
Yeah, and I mean, surprisingly, one of them I actually transported in my car, and it survived. So, and IKEA is a 40-minute drive on the expressway. So, I mean, if I can do it, you can do it.
I'll tell you one thing. We talk about 10 times.
10 minutes to IKEA from here.
Oh, nice. One thing in the talks about planning and glass shelves, I don't know how the Bestas are with their glass shelves, but the fake wood shelves are pretty easy to adjust, right? The glass shelves suck hard to adjust. So bad, they suck double hard if you've got your doors installed. Which you can do, but you got to go in and, I mean, you can just screwdriver and you adjust the door so they get a little weird, but it's still going to be that terrible sound when you're stretching it out. So I've decided the next glass shelves I do are going to be on the G1 stuff, which is pretty much done. But all the rest of my room over the past couple of years have seen changes. And the stuff behind me has seen changes. Because all of a sudden NECA and Super 7 started going hog wild with Ninja Turtle stuff, right? And I needed a bunch more space there all of a sudden. And I've had to move that 2 or 3 times. And my Masterpiece stuff needs some adjustments, to be honest. But moving the glass shelf sucks. Because you got to, either way, you got to take all your toys off, right? Which is another reason to make them look nicer and spread them out so it's less to move. But you have to actually slide the glass shelf out and then unscrew it and then re-screw them in and then slide it back in and then put the rubber stops back in. And it's a pain. So the more you can plan ahead of time and it actually work is good. But stuff that's in flux, I would upgrade those to glass last, I guess, is the best advice I can give on that. So for Peter, you'll be setting up some, and Peter set up his G1 stuff before, so he knows how to do or whatever. But even though again your G1 stuff especially does continue to grow and change, you got an idea of what's going to be there even within the next few years. So you can kind of keep that in mind so that you don't have to move glass shelves if you have glass shelves.
Weird flex time. There's not a lot of G1 stuff I need.
Nice.
And I know a lot of people, Detolfs are always the butt of the joke. Everybody has them. Like 90% of the collectors have them.
And why do people have them?
Well, it's because they're the most affordable.
Cheap, and they look nice as they are.
Yeah, I mean, they're like what, $49.99 now? I mean, where are you going to get like a glass shelf for $50?
They're $60.
$60. Yeah.
The thing that's really hard though is like it. I feel like the height of Transformers just don't look good with the Detolfs like that.
And that's where the risers come in.
And that's where the risers come in.
And so you got to pick and choose what you put in there. Like if you put a bunch of mainline, I know Christian does that, but he has risers.
Which is what I do. And we could talk about Christian's Detolf journey now. So $60 is not where a Detolf ends for me anymore. My first 1, 2, 3 I think did, and then slowly I started to realize that mainline stuff, which is what I collect, doesn't look good in there, but it works for me right now. So here's what you do. First, you do lights. You got to do it. And don't get the puck light that shines right down just the front shelf. Go get your sticky LEDs and go all the way around, front and back. Do it. Lights.
Well,
you need them.
The other thing is like
that's one of the things
LEDs
that's nice.
Making sure that you have the correct color temperature for the lights that you're getting. Because I swear I have LEDs upstairs and I can't get it's just not the right white.
It happened
Remember
to me
earlier when we said you can
too.
get pieces, bits at a time, especially if you're using IKEA stuff. Get all of your lights at once.
Yeah. The only thing that
run will be slightly off.
Yeah, the only thing that sucks about that is you can't future-proof them. Like I went back into my Amazon order history and I ordered the same exact lights and they're like a different tint and it bothers the hell out of me. Yeah. So now I'm like, I'm just waiting out until I move out into my own space so I could just completely redo all the lights
at once.
Your wiring and your plugs and everything in place. You can just swap out the tape lights. That's easy stuff.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I will tell you some mistakes I've made is that I can't access most of the plugs on my walls anymore. Most of them are covered up, not all of them. With the half ones I put here, I actually did make access ports for my plugs. So I kind of thought ahead a little more. Now the access plugs look really ugly, but I'll come up with something. So at least thinking of that and making sure you can get to your plugs and like a way to think, if I want to run a wire here some way, is there a way where I can, use coat hangers to wire this? Making that spot is good. I'll also tell you the Besta system that you can see behind Peter, much easier to put LEDs on than the Billy system with the Morliden doors because there's not a good place to. You say, what's that silver trim on there? No, it's not going to work. We'll talk more about lights later, but it's not going to look good. Like there's not a real great way to do it. Whereas the best you can hide it because it's got that wood frame.
Yeah.
So continue with your Detolf journey.
Yeah. Step 1 was lights. That was the easy one to get done. I picked out all the lights, stuck them all on there, wired them all together.
And make sure
those lights.
On lights, make sure you don't get the RGB ones. Get the straight white because the RBG or the RGB, sure it's cool. You can change the colors, but if you put them on like white, it's never going to be white. It's always going to be like a blue tint or like a smoky tint. Almost.
If that's what you want, I guess go for that. But yeah, otherwise go for white.
Yeah, no, that's the issue is, and so every time I take pictures of that, you guys give me crap for the white balance.
See, I edit that in my photo editing app, so I can't.
Oh, geez, Mr. Flex over here. I'm way too
built
lazy
into
for
the
that.
iPhone.
Step 2 is risers. We talked about risers for figures before. Step 3 is risers for the cabinets themselves. A big problem that people have with Detolfs is that the shelves that are closest to the ground get kind of lost when you look at them at eye level. Raise them up. That's the furniture I'm currently waiting on. I got pieces of furniture to put my Detolfs on to put them higher up against my wall so that they'll actually look better. In addition, they will be able to hide all the electronics and wires for my lights. So they serve a couple functions. I would highly recommend doing that. I will tell you guys how it goes once I do it. But my dad picked up the stuff. We got to do some modifications, and he's going to bring them here and put them on there. It's going to be great. Very excited. Well, step 3. Step 3, I've just engaged a local glassmaker to make me some additional shelves. Or step 4, whatever step I'm on now. More shelves for Detolfs. The issue with Detolfs is, again, Transformers, especially mainline stuff, is really bad at utilizing the vertical space inside of a Detolf. So I'm getting some additional shelves made for them. I can install them with wire lock. Serge taught me that trick. So you can take out the default shelves, move them, you can put more in, so you can display more stuff more effectively. It's all about filling the space in a meaningful way. And the last step for me is understanding that with robbed displays as my end goal, the Detolfs will not be my primary display forever. So in getting the 9th one that I just got, I had to really plan ahead to what I call my Omega collection. What does my collection look like at the end of my collecting life? And I think it looks like Rob's. And I think I have 3 groups of 3 Detolfs that are like true showcase things. Nicely lit, choice pieces, not crowded, just they look nice all together. So really make them a feature thing as opposed to the main area like I have it now.
I think Detolfs for Transformers only works if in each spot you just have one big figure. And that's it.
The idea.
Yeah.
You know, like as a showcase. Like they'd be good for Hot Toys or something.
Exactly.
Yes, and
right.
Like if it's just one, I think they can do more than look like Unicron shoved in there, right? That was just I hope that guy was doing it as a laugh just to see if he could do it.
There's no way.
Please be tongue in cheek, dude. But with Transformers, Transformer collectors, we have a lot of volume, like big, huge volume, because the toy line, other than like what for 1 year in the 90s maybe, has always been putting out something, right? Like our volume is stupid. If you want to buy some Transformers, there's more to buy. There's always more to buy, and there's going to continue to be more to buy. So with Detolfs, the vertical space is some issue, but I think the horizontal space is honestly a bigger issue for me, because when you have every case you are losing display space for the case itself in between cases. And that the same goes for Billy's. Like if you didn't have Billy's and you just had big ass shelves going across, right? Like if you could custom built your walls as displays, right? Mm-hmm. You know, which some people do with their homes. I've seen it. No, I didn't do it. That's way too much work. But, you know, people can do that. They're going to get even more space than what I have with Billy's, because I'm losing that much space as you go along. And there's no fixing that with Detolfs, ever.
Well, that's not necessarily true.
Oh, are you going to turn them sideways and stack them that way?
You do like
the...
No,
get fucked with that.
No, there's a double mod and a triple mod. Basically, you cut the tops and the bottoms, you take out the middle pieces of glass, and you bolt them together.
That sounds terrible.
And that
looks nice, but it's a lot of work.
Point.
It's a lot of work for
Detolfs aren't sealed.
No.
They're not sealed at all. There's just dust and air, and so if you start double bolting them together and everything, I've seen people that have sealed them. There are mods for that, but at that point, I've bought the Detolf at $60. Yep. I need 4 of them minimum for whatever display I'm going to do, because I have 100 figures, for example. I need to buy furniture to raise them up. I need to buy the lights. I need to buy to seal them. And then I've lost all this space. Why didn't I just go buy the full vision showcase at the store display store for that price? It comes with lights, comes with a base, comes with locks, it's sealed, and it's the right height.
Oh, don't forget, talk to your local glass guy.
Oh, and talk to my glass guy and get the wire locks and do every mod in the book. So I've just spent $400 on a single Detolf, and we know why you're doing it. And I'm not attacking you.
This is across 8 years.
We're trying to help people here to not go to Detolfs. Like Detolfs are single showcases.
Right.
Yeah, they are not.
They serve a very specific purpose.
Yeah, I think
I poo-poo them because I can't do class photos in a Detolf. I can't bunch everyone up and have them go like, you know.
Yeah.
We're the art guys, derp.
Yeah.
You can only get like 4 figures and then you're full.
A lot of people tend to just stuff them full of figures, and it does not look good. I think if you have something like, you know, Christian, like where yours are well lit and spaced out and all that type of thing, it's a completely different thing than if you
he's making the most
of
it
it work.
But,
yeah. You have to maximize it, but it is more than just buying the case.
Yeah.
I mean, I would make the argument that I think that you would still be better off with Detolfs, with Billy's, even at this stage, just because they are 20 times easier to move than a Detolf, even then.
Yeah, probably.
Because I don't know, they're just bookshelves.
Yeah.
You know, there are a lot
But I like what I've done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you may. Yeah.
I think that's
You
what I'm going to do. Like Christian said, eventually is just put like a single big piece in there. Obviously, that fits well. Like one of my details is just all my current Hot Toys that I have, and it's like just one per cube, and
Like,
they
I think that looks
fit.
nice.
Yeah, they
It
fit.
does look nice.
The Star Wars helmets fit in very nice too. If you collect the Black Series helmets, even the Marvel stuff too, the
Yeah.
Marvel helmets,
Like
like
the
those look
replica stuff.
really nice. Yeah, those look really nice in a detolphin. So I have like my 3-0 Transformers. Each one is in its own too, because they're big enough to fill up that void.
Yeah, but you know what they're not? 40 mainline figures on a shelf. So, you know, or even 10 masterpiece figures on a shelf. They're not going to look good in there either. Like maybe you can put like the big guy in there or something, but you know, even then you're kind of.
We gotta get creative.
I'm feeling attacked with this mainline comment, Rob.
They're not going to look good in detail.
Mainline collectors, scum of the
Mainline is
earth.
hard to make look good in a detolf. I've been trying for years, and I'm just now, since I moved to this place in the last 18 months or so, starting to figure out what to actually do. I've also got some backgrounds on order. We'll see how that goes. So it's not just a white wall behind it. Yeah, just something to kind of mix it up.
You know, it's something that like I think people should know is out there. I don't think any of us do this unless maybe Surge has dabbled in it. But like Bobby Skullface has done videos of where he makes entire displays for his shelf fit exactly for the display in his shelf and makes scenes, and that's cool. And there's a lot of people that do that for a lot of fandoms.
Yeah, diorama building.
Yeah, diorama building. Like you should check that out. There's some really cool Ninja Turtle ones, and they had time lapse of them building like the rooftop scene from the 90s movie where they fight Shredder. And it was just cool seeing him put that together. And you can do really impressive stuff with less work than you think, but it just requires planning and some attention to detail and some rulers.
I've
but it's really cool.
I haven't done it full yet. I want to though. Like for some of like my 1/12 Batman stuff, I want to like do like the Ninja Turtle where they have like a cityscape, you know, like a fire escape or something. There are companies that even sell like pre-made 1/12 scale dioramas, 1/6 scale dioramas.
There are some that sell detolf size. If you're only doing detolf, they sell them perfectly for the cube. Just slot them in.
And Christian had linked me a YouTube video where the dude would look for backgrounds on Google Images, and then you can print them on Walgreens website for like $15, and it's like pretty high quality print as long as like the picture that you get, the file is a really good size.
Yeah, source image has to be good.
Yeah, you can get a relatively inexpensive background, you know, for your detolf or whatever display that you have. Printing them at Walgreens, and you can pick them up if they're open 24 hours and you're feeling adventurous at 2 a.m. You can go pick them up at 2 a.m.
Like I think again, one of the more important things though is that when you get to dioramas, you really got to plan out and you got to know that shelf is done, because once you put it in there, especially if you like make something or have something made for you, because there's also plenty of people on the internet that'll make them for you. You know, there's places that they do their side business, or you know, there's customizers that'll make this for you. You know, be careful with that. Customizers are always hit or miss, but you know, it's going to fit that exact size you want. And if you ever adjust anything, that thing's worthless now. You know, it's the truth. It's going to be hard to sell to someone else anything near what you paid for it, because their shelves are going to be different. So, if it sounds interesting to you, I would highly recommend watching some videos of people doing it. And it's not the materials are not expensive. It's the time that's expensive. And so like you can go buy some, that foam board stuff, you know, isn't expensive. You can go buy some of that and just play with it, you know, until you get half decent at it enough to actually try to make something, right? You know, if that sounds interesting to you and like it's part of the hobby you want to kind of, you know, stretch into. But it can be very cool. Super cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really that kind of stuff is almost more of a passion project, you know, for yourself than it is, you know, necessarily like, I mean, it looks fantastic. And I know, you know, some of the guys, again, like, you know, Bobby Skullface and Chris Pinkerton and whatnot, that they do Crashbox customs that fits into the detolfs and whatnot. And it all looks really, really good. But yeah, like it's something that's unique to you. It's kind of like getting a custom transformer. It's kind of a similar similar type of thing. So, Catherine mentioned in the chat too that Toy Hacks also sells backdrops as well. Like, do you guys have those?
I have
Not
a
yet.
couple of the Transformer themed ones, and they have like ones themed by series, and then they have some generic ones like Power Plant and Wall. And they come in different sizes, so you
Wall
can get
number 2.
Yeah, exactly. So you can get them in different sizes for different scale figures if you want to do your 1/6 or your 1/12s or your 1/18ths. Yeah, their quality is good, and they've got floor tiles. They sell floor tiles too. So if you want to, I take pictures of things at my desk, and when I get back to my normal job, I'm gonna have some of this stuff on display. But yeah, it's just good for cleaning up your display.
Yeah, and that just adds like a whole nother level to the hobby. If you're like finding yourself maybe in like a rut where you're getting kind of bored, and just dabbling into dioramas, even photography, that could re-spark some interest in the hobby. If especially now, if you're finding yourself some extra time with the pandemic, if you're finding yourself at home, you're working from home, those fun little passion projects really spice up the display. And something just as simple as like those backgrounds you can get in Toy Hacks, that makes a world of a difference. Those really cool like Teletran ones, like the background I'm using right now, like they have those. I think BBTS even has some now too that you can pre-order. Yep. And they're like they're exactly the size for DTELFs.
Toy World used to sell these, like the ones that I use for the show, like that orange backdrop that I have for like showing off figures. Those are actually from Toy World, and they used to put one with like every figure that you would order from them, but then they also separately sold them, and so I bought a bunch when they did that because I was able to get them on sale.
Those are the ones that Fred uses too, right? Fred work?
I think so.
He might. I think he uses a combination of like some of like the printed backgrounds and then the third party Teletran stuff.
Yeah, Teletran with the floor pegs and stuff.
Yeah. And if you're getting the Arc too, you're getting a Teletran. Mm-hmm. So that's something you can incorporate into the display.
That's true.
They better repaint that mainframe as mainframe colors. I got the iGear diorama set or Teletran set or whatever back in 2011, and it was 2010, and it was a turd. They didn't the walls just.
I used to have these.
That actually go for a pretty good amount of money.
At one point they were on eBay for like $1,500.
Jeez.
Yeah. And I was like, maybe I'll sell it, and then
I used to have these called mechanical chain base. It was a similar thing to those where you just like you bought more and stacked together. They were for like mechs. They weren't specifically made by Bandai. I think it was some third party company that made accessories for bottle kits made them, and they came in like a whole array of like different types of backgrounds. Like some were just a normal hanger, some of them had like platforms, or you could put like little human figures or like a repair bay
stuff.
Yeah, and unfortunately though, I think those are discontinued, so they're extremely hard to find now. But those are really, really cool. Back when I had those, I wish I kept them. As just the space that they took. I didn't have like a proper space to do them justice.
You've got to stop telling us about things after they're discontinued.
Well, I bought them after they were discontinued, so I paid a pretty penny.
So your word flex is, look what I bought after it was discontinued that you can't get, and I no longer have.
Yeah.
Serge, you said passion project a lot in what you were just saying. Really, any of this display stuff is a passion project.
Yeah.
If displaying is part of the hobby for you, great. If you're a bin person, you want to get it, and now you have it, and you toss it in a bin. That's cool for you too. All of us have just kind of moved on in our collecting careers to say, now I've got all this stuff. I want to do something to make it actually look, like something I would enjoy, something I can look at and say, look, I did this thing, and I want to look at it more.
I think the overall message of today is not so much we're trashing your display if we don't like it. No. I think it's definitely make do with what you have.
But your display does suck. Let's be clear here. Whoever you are
sucks. Yeah,
it's trash, and you're trash, and you should feel like trash.
Yours, yes.
But you can take these tips and make do with what you got. If you find yourself having a super crowded shelf, maybe put some stuff away and only leave your favorites out there, space them out. If you have those cheap plastic $20 shelves, we're telling you because we're trying to save your collection. Eventually they're going to sag and you're going to end up with a bunch of broken toys. So
yeah,
I mean,
It will fall.
in that note, DTOFs have been known to shatter. Like if you assemble your DTOF a little off, you will put a lot of pressure on that glass wall that you don't realize you've done. And one day you're going to come in and it's going to be shattered. So just be careful. Like, it's not so much like never do it because they're going to shatter. Like, plenty of people are fine with like the vast majority. But it does happen because they've accidentally assembled it wrong. And 6 months later, they go in the room one day and there's a bunch of glass on the floor.
Yeah,
I think again,
so just be careful.
Just making sure that you like look at the weight limits of the whatever shelving that you're using.
Yeah.
And the reason why, part of the reason that we like say that Billy's are the way to go, like IKEA has cheaper shelves and all that you can get too, but the weight limits aren't as high, and so they end up bowing. And like you can read reviews of people saying like, oh, like instead of getting the $60 Billy, I got the $40 shelf or the $20 shelf from IKEA, and then like it collapsed.
Yeah. So there's
and most of the non-system IKEA stuff isn't. They're not as modular. They're not as flexible. You can't do as much.
They're not going to grow with you.
Right. Exactly. So, if you want to fall in on a system and you know your collection is going to grow, then choose. Hello, Mr. Kitty. Then choose a. He's biting my elbow for whatever reason. And choose an IKEA collection that's going to grow that you like, that you can do what you want with. Yeah.
There's a couple other topics I want to hit on before we got done. One of them is display grouping. And note that you don't have to do what everybody else does. You can do interesting things. Like the most common thing, and it's what I've done on all of mine, it's what, Peter does with his class photos, is, kind of group by series, and then within series kind of either group by faction or some sort of subgroup or by line. Like my G1 is mostly chronological-ish. Like, there might be, I'm sure there's some exception, especially Peter could come in and be like, that's an 87 figure and you got it with the 88s, but for the most part, like, my Micromasters are together, my Action Masters are together, whatever. But you don't have to live by those rules. Like there's one you can Google and you can find it. There's one that did like then and now collection, where it's like the G1 and then they got their masterpiece and maybe they have the Chug version in there too or something, and kind of do a character through the history. You see that especially with like Paul and his Starscream collection, or, there's Optimus Prime collectors and they have just all these Optimus Primes together. But, you can get creative with that as well, which can, help your display feel a little less cookie cutter. If that's something that is important to you. If it's not important to you, then who cares? Do whatever makes you happy, but feel free to think outside the bun,
I almost feel like we need to have Anna on here to refute you, Rob, where you're talking about groupings, because it's like you
refute me. I said do what you want.
You look at, well, no, but I'm saying as far as like, okay, well, a lot of people have season 1, season 2, whatever kind of thing on there, and then like you go to Anna's shelves, right, and it's like everything. Right? Like, I mean, she has third party mixed with mainline, mixed with Legends, mixed with G1, mixed with like just, whatever, everything everywhere. And you're like, there's no way that could work, right? But it does. Like, I don't know how she does it. I think part of it is her posing that she does. But like, it just amazes me that she has these shelves of just stuff, like all this different crazy stuff in it somehow.
My Ninja Turtles, 4 Ninja Turtles just fell over. As you were talking.
No.
Yeah. It was actually
for like your Ninja Turtles or Marvel Legends and all that, do you use like sticky tack or anything like that to help them, or does that damage?
No, I have a couple of NECA stands that I use on a couple of them, but like when they bend at the ankle, and that's where like Shredder's given away, like you can't do anything about it, right? Like it can kind of help, but I think Anna's shelves work for Anna because of her one character rule, and that's why her shelves end up so eclectic. Because, she wants whatever version of whatever character she wants. So, she'll have Masterpiece Black Arachnia next to Earthrise Air Razor next to, whatever,
Cyberverse Stream.
Yeah. And, that makes her collection unique. And I actually think that's kind of, that's pretty cool to do your own thing, because again, it's for you. Like, kind of like as Catherine was making jokes earlier, your significant other or your potential love interest isn't going to care about your collection most likely, unless they're just a super nerd in the hobby, at which point go you, but it's still yours.
Right.
So yeah, feel free to stretch out. And I know we've talked about that with Christian a while back too, because he was trying to decide like how can he reduce but keep the things he's like, and that was kind of like, well, what if you made a shelf per show or something of like some of your favorites as a way to, you don't want to forget that Armada happened, right? But you don't want the entire Armada line anymore. It's just too much. Well, like pick out some of your favorites, make a cool display of them, of them in a battle scene or something. I don't know. Again, I can't pose, but you can do things. You can do more than the standard, so to speak.
Can I soapbox vent for a second? Sort of related, but unrelated. Okay, so this is my classics room, my chug room, and that weird flex. But not only in this room is there going to be like Transformers and stuff. There's also going to be, I've got Snake Mountain over here and Castle Grayskull over here from the Motu Classics line, and Unicron's obviously going to be in here. I'm going to figure out how to. Yep. And then someone is making for JoeCon this year or whatever, Joe Fest, a 4-foot wide by 2-foot tall G.I. Joe headquarters playset. Yeah, that I want to put in here somewhere. So you can plan and you can plan and you can
and then
plan.
Somebody does that.
And then someone makes an 8 square foot plate set in the middle of that's going to end up in the middle of the floor of your display room. And they're like, that's not a Transformer. It's like, yeah, shh, stop.
I mean, let's be real. Unicron caught a lot of us by surprise. Like they were like, what are we going to do with this? And I came up with something and I managed to make it work, right? But that wasn't planned until like shortly before it shipped, right? Like I finally clicked what I could do, right?
Same here, and I'm waiting on pieces to accommodate him now.
Yep. So like playsets, Super 7 and NECA are getting there for Ninja Turtles, and all of the 80s stuff except Transformers really went into playsets and vehicles a lot. Motu had it, Ninja Turtles had it, G.I. Joe had it. They had, yes, there is the Autobot headquarters, but
I want that, and I want the Stars headquarters. I want those so badly to be updated.
But like once
how
what's like one of the most iconic playsets from the 80s? It's totally the sewer hideout.
Flag, the Terrordrome, the G.I. Joe headquarters playset, the
sewer hideout, man.
Sewer hideout, the Eternia playset, Snake Mountain, the Secret Wars.
I put on there.
Doom Tower. Remember the Secret Wars Doom Tower? The Hive from Sectars. Come on, guys. Yeah.
But at some point, we're going to get some sewer playsets, some party wagons. I don't know where the hell those things are going to go. I have no clue. I've planned, but as I mentioned, Collector Ninja Turtles has kind of caught me by surprise, and I've had to adjust, and I'm going to have to continue to adjust. But, sometimes plans do go astray. That's the one thing that's kind of neat about displaying G1 is it's done. Nothing new G1's going to come out, right? Like maybe iGear will resurrect and make some toys that they want you to integrate with it again, right? But a lot of people did not understand that's what iGear was doing with some of the releases. But
I think those were some of the most ingenious, like modern blah blah blahs. It was the Glacial Lord from Fans Project and the iGear. So yeah, the Alligator Con and the RC or whoever. Yeah, those are just fantastic, and they slot right in. It's perfect. I wish we had more things like that.
Yeah, the iGear problem being that the quality wasn't there, but the design I liked. For especially again the Alligator, he's in my G1 display, and other than he actually has too much articulation, you wouldn't know that he doesn't belong there. But yeah. But yeah, so grouping. I don't know if anybody else has any other interesting ideas, but kind of the
covered all my pieces.
The last thing is, when we've talked about a bit, is lighting. Lighting really is like the chef's kiss on a display. But I've struggled with it. I bought some lights a couple years ago. I tried to set something up, and I was content with it, but I wasn't super happy with it. And then like pieces kind of keep coming unsticky, and I got more and more unhappy with it. And so then I just haven't done anything, and now it doesn't work anymore. And my daughter like ran into the edge of the shelf once where like the power supplies were, and I don't know if she broke something or if just the battery in the remote is dead. And I keep not thinking about it to go like, I need to try another battery and see if those lights still work or not. But they're pretty hard to get the lights to look good in Billy's with the Morlid indoors. Because an LED strip does not look good. So like you want to hide that. So like, but there's not, if you're using glass shelves, you can't like put them, I mean, you can put them under the shelf, but they kind of stick out. It's not the worst, but it's not the best. So there are some neat stuff you can do though with rigging your lights together. And I think that's something that's fun where you do need to check with like how much power you can put on a single power supply. So to string them, don't just string like 40 of them together. And I mean, it's not going to blow up your house, but the light's probably not going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you might short something out and then none of them work again. And you can get like USB hubs that are controlled with your phone so that you can rig up multiple sets together, or so that you can control all of them through one thing on your phone. So you can basically press something on your phone and turn on your whole room, even if it is, a whole bunch of different light sets that are all controlled differently. So you can do cool stuff like that you should do, and it's one of those, think about it beforehand. Don't be like me and put up all your Billies and cover up all your light sockets. And then you're going to have to try to figure out where the hell are your light sockets on this huge wall I have here. Because I'm going to need some of those in the middle whenever I figure out what I'm going to do for lights again. And I'm also, I want to know more about what options people have for lights, especially for glass shelves like this. Would you just get the cover for the LED strip and put it on, the underside of the glass? Or what would you do? You can't put it on the back. Don't light your figures from the back, at least not only, right? Like you need them to be above and preferably near the front so that the way your eyeballs are going in can see them. I've seen people put lights on the back. I'm like, what are you doing? You're just casting them in shadow.
I would do your shelves like I did my shelves, which are 2 circuits starting from the bottom right, go all the way up on the side, go across the top, and go down to the bottom left, and then do one in the front and one in the back. And then put the shelves up against the LED strips. Don't put LEDs on the shelves, but they're lit from the walls of the case.
When I was doing what I have right now is actually traced the inside of each door, and I tried to shove them in that little gap there, but you can still see them. But that's the problem, is they keep kind of falling out, and especially at the top, even though I put some double-sided tape to reinforce. And then I had to like find ways to join multiple strips together that wasn't too bulky. And it's like joining them is easy, but ways that aren't bulky is different. They looked a lot better with the extra bits going on the inside and the middle than just around the edges, because I tried both and took pictures. Yeah. But it may just be that it's not worth it, because right now I'm letting perfection be the enemy of good, and it's like, and so I've just quit altogether instead of like, just take this stuff down, try it again. And, and maybe you say do that, because then I can cover them up where they're going around the edges so you don't see an ugly LED strip. You can get those covers, and string it around the edges, and it'll still look really nice. It'll be better than what I have now, and I can start working on it again.
A final lighting note I would tell you is, we've been talking a lot about LEDs. Keep your stuff away from natural light. That's the enemy of any plastic. Just, if you've got a display room, make sure it's dark. Light it the way you want. Don't use the sun.
Get those foil space blanket things. They're cheap. You can layer 2 or 3 of those up, and that's actually what I did on my right here. If you saw, behind those blinds are those space foil blanket things. And you know what? You get a few extra and you throw them in your car and for emergencies too. Just, they're not the worst thing to have.
My HOA won't let me do that.
I just got black.
I didn't ask. I just did it. It's in the back of our house. It's not like facing the front window. Like, honestly, I don't know that I would want that on my front window, because it probably looks like I'm growing pot down here, right?
Yeah. Not actual growing, but yeah, I talked to you about the lighthouse earlier.
Yeah. But yeah, I do have figures from. I didn't notice it until I moved from the old house to this one. It's like, aww, like my 20th, or was it 20th or 25th Beast Wars anniversary Primal versus Megatron pack, like sides all yellowed, and it's like, oh, that one was near the window.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, damn it!
You don't notice it until it's too late, so don't ever start.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, I know y'all talked about this a bit the other week too, but your toys are going to yellow anyways. But don't help it along, you know. So do what you can. It's still going to happen. Your Jetfire is going to turn to butter. It's just going to happen. But you do what you can to put that off. So
that's all the topics I had. Displays are complicated. Make it your own. Have fun with it, or don't if that's your deal.
I was going to mention book club this week is going to be More Than Meets the Eye 36 through 38. So join us Sunday nights on the TF Talk Discord as they discuss that 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central. And then this week for microcasters, do we know what we're doing, Christian? I thought we
do not know what we're doing yet.
I thought we were talking about.
Y'all have Getaway? Oh, if you want to do MSC's Getaway, let me know.
Yeah, we do need to schedule that because I have Getaway as well, and I wouldn't mind, doing a review of that. So, but yeah, so we'll be doing something Thursday night. So check that out on the TF Talk Facebook page, 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central, and then let's see what else we got. I mean, cut the tape. Who knows? Roll the dice. So thank you guys for joining us tonight, and thank you to everyone in the chat, Zaldron, Catherine, Phil, Jay,
Big
Rich,
Daddy Reviews.
Big Daddy Reviews.
Oh, Big Daddy Reviews was back. Thanks.
Yeah.
Ron.
I don't know if he's still here, but he was.
Yep, he was in there earlier. Did I miss anyone? Oh, and then Ryan earlier in the show. But yeah, thank you guys. Is there any final thoughts before we leave?
Quick summary is plan what you can, think about upgrading in the future and what will flex with it. Think about how you want to group them. Buy risers. That's like the one solid non-negotiable point. Buy some goddamn risers. They're awesome. Think about dioramas. Think about backdrops. Think about lighting. And, it's yours. Do it, plan it out, and grow it over time. Except for LED strip lights, which you probably need to buy all at once. Or else you are totally going to get a different run and it's going to be a different color.
Good thing those are cheap.
They are cheap.
Yep.
Comparatively.
Yep.
That's it for me.
All right. Well, thanks, guys, and we will see you next week.
Bye.